I feel like I've had a bit of an awakening when it comes to Pan That Palette this month, and I really want to talk to you guys all about it. I've been umming and ahhing whether or not to change up this project, to do something different, or to just keep bashing it out with this palette. If you guys don't know, I have been panning this for nearly 2 years now. I started this last year, and we've made amazing progress with this. This palette has been through the wars and we only have 2 shades left. Now, if you haven't seen my completely frankening and redoing my Pan That palette, this palette will have a lot of differences. You'll be a little bit shocked as to how it looks now in compared to last month, but I will talk through all of that later on. There's going to be a massive change in this video, and maybe I've kind of spoiled it in the title or the thumbnail, but I am really going to be changing it up this month because I think it needs it. A lot of you guys have been saying to me constantly, like, Caitlin, just please change it up because, like, you're clearly not happy with this palette, and finally I'm going to be listening to you, kind of. I'm not giving up on Modern Renaissance completely, but I will go further in detail later on in the video. But just before we do jump into this video, if you have not already, like and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I really think that we can do it. I'm so grateful to everyone who subscribes. I love bright, fun, colourful makeup looks. I love project panning and get ready with me's. And also, I am on holiday. So this is the first day of my holiday. I am away the 1st to the 8th of September. So if replies are slow, things like that, that is why. I'm living it up in Seville. I'm hopefully getting a little bit of a tan, going 1 shade darker than my pasty Irish white skin, but we can hope, we can hope. So Modern Renaissance has been my Pan That palette for a very long time, and what I decided to do a few months ago when there were very, very few shades left is roll in a companion palette every month to try and help me use these shades. Yeah, things are changing. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is just update Modern Renaissance as I usually would. So this is what the palette looked like last month pre-frankening. I had 3 shades left, which were Red Ochre, Love Letter and Realgar, and I had said that these 3 shades are not my preferred shades to use. I love cool tone taupes. I love very like neutral tones, if I'm gonna wear neutrals, that is. Like, I would pick colour over neutrals any day, but if I was forced to wear neutrals, it would be cool tones, it would be more smoky shades, it would definitely not be these super orange, super warm, bright shades, and I had been struggling with these shades for quite a long time. This is what the palette looks like today. So I have Frankened Love Letter and Red Ochre together and added some more product just to cool it down a little bit. And I also added some single eyeshadows to really cool down Realgar as well into a more neutral shade instead of a super, super bright orange. And I have been working on these shades for a few weeks now, and I definitely have some thoughts, some opinions, some things that I definitely think that I want to do, and I will talk about that right now. So overall, this palette is looking brilliant. I have used up so much of this palette. This palette is looking amazing. However, we're on the last stretch now. There is a reason that these 2 shades are the last in the palette, and that is because I don't really like using them. Shocker, I know. What a shock. What I have figured out, however, is Realgar, the new Realgar, the cooled down Realgar, is a great bronzer, and that is actually what I'm wearing today. It just makes a really nice neutral bronzer. It is still slightly orange, but you know what? I can deal with that. It's really nice. I'm not hate panning it. It's not too orange to the point where I'm like, just grit your teeth and bear it. It's actually, I think it works really well for my skin tone. So I'm more than happy continuing working on this as a bronzer. And I think if I do that, then this will be done by the end of the year. I have a few months left. There's really not that much product left in here. I think using it as a bronzer most days is a really, really good option, is a really, really good way of using it. So I'm more than happy to continue using this as a bronzer. Red Ochre. This is the one that I am struggling with. As I said, I don't reach for these red tones very often at all. So I have been umming and ahhing what I want to do with this shade. I know this is not going to be done by the end of the year, and I have a very, very good solution. So in this Beauty Bay compact is a few shades from Modern Renaissance, frankened into a blush, and you might recognize this shade. It's a very similar shade to what is left of Red Ochre. So what I'm going to do is at the end of the year, I'm going to focus on finishing Realgar, and then I know this is not going to get touched. So I'm actually going to Franken the remainder of this shade into this blush compact, and I'm going to try and project pan this blush compact next year. So that means that the remaining shades from Modern Renaissance will all be done in this blush compact next year. I'm not going to force myself to use Red Ochre as an eyeshadow if I don't feel like it, because I don't really want to use these kinds of shades. And then, as I said, Realgar is a bronzer, pretty easy. I think I'll get through it really, really quickly, and I think this will definitely be done, and then this will be frankened and used next year as a blush. So let's go through uses. So these two shades, of course, have been frankened, a Red Ochre and Love Letter. So I did have a few uses on them before they were frankened. So Love Letter this month, I've used 5 times for a total of 10 uses in the project. And then Red Ochre, I have used 9 times for a total of 114 uses in the project. So the way that I counted them is I obviously separately counted them while they were 2 separate shades. But when they'd been frankened together, I just tallied a use for both of them, and I think that's just what's gonna happen from now on. I honestly can't see myself using this that much, to be fair, but it is what it is. That's what I'm gonna do. Next is Realgar, and I have been using it as a bronzer. Like I said, I've used it 13 times this month for a total of 153 uses in the project. It is getting long haul. It is getting kind of crazy, the amount of use that these shades have had. And I'm ready to be done. I feel the burnout. I feel it hard, and it's not great. So let's do weights. So like I said, I have added product into these 2 shades. I added a lot of blue into this to cool it down, and I also added a few extra shades into this as well, just to change the color a little bit. So we have gained weight. Last month this weighed 177.30 grams, and this month it weighs 177.74 grams, meaning we have actually gained 0.44 grams in this. Not mad. I know the reason why. At first I was very confused, and then I realized I've added product. So that is my Pan That palette, my Modern Renaissance. Let's talk about my companion palette that I decided to roll in this month. And this is the Botanical palette. I did do a whole review of this palette that you guys absolutely loved, and I've really enjoyed playing with this palette. I've been using the shade Sea Moss and Savannah a hell of a lot. When Realgar was still in the original Realgar form, I was using Sea Moss to blend it out a lot, and I was also using Savannah and Canyon as well on the lid a lot with these kind of looks. They went so well together. I also used Matcha and Myrtle as well in the inner corner, just because I was panning a different green shimmer in my Pan That palette in order, which I've actually just finished filming, and they went really, really well with all of the color stories that I was panning and that I was using. Sadly, I haven't been able to use these more cool tone shades, but I've definitely played around with the greens and then this kind of middle corally section as well. I realized this month that I roll in a companion palette and then I kind of forget it exists after a week, because there's no real like challenge to it. It's just kind of there taking up space. And this is also a massive reason why I've decided, and I can announce it now, I'm going to be rolling in my 2025 Pan That palette now. So something that I've realized this month is that I've kind of just been stalling. I feel like I've been keeping myself to like calendar years, being like, I can't roll in a Pan That palette now because it's not the end of the year, and I want to start my Pan That palette on the 1st of January 2025. But why? You know, why am I doing that? There's no real need for me to do that. No one is forcing me to not roll in my Pan That palette now. And if anything, it's almost a good thing, because by the end of 2025, I'll have an extra few months of progress, which could be the difference between finishing a shade and not finishing a shade, hitting pan and not hitting pan, all that kind of stuff. So you know what? I'm just going to roll in my 2025 palette now. Why not? So a lot of you may already know what I'm going to be rolling in. I did actually finish my Project Level Up project pan because I was kind of thinking of doing this, and this palette was in my Project Level Up. So I've had like a few weeks of use on this. I already know that I love this palette, and it's also going to be a great contrast to Modern Renaissance. Now, am I scared? Yes, I am. But the palette that I'm rolling in for kind of 2025 is my Colourpop That's Taupe. Normally, I love filming a kind of what palette should be my next Pan That palette video. It's normally in December, but I mean, I just really want to pan this. This is a beautiful palette that I've kind of got to know and got to love a lot over the past few months, I guess. I think I had this in a No Pan Left Behind, and that really sparked my love for this. And I also, obviously, like I said, had it in a Project Level Up, and it just confirmed that I really, really do like this palette. These are the tones that I like panning. These are the tones that I feel really comfortable and confident in. And these are the tones that just, they're not bright orange, they're not bright red. They're just, I feel like they suit my skin tone so unbelievably well. And I feel like I'll have fun panning this. I feel like Companion Palettes was kind of like I want to make myself have fun with this Modern Renaissance palette, even though I know I'm not, but I'm gonna kind of take the edge off with a Companion palette. Whereas this is like, I actually want to pan this, you know? I feel like I've been, as I said, stalling a little bit with Modern Renaissance, just trying to grit my teeth and bear it for the end of the year. But I'm just going to roll this in now. There's 2 shades left of Modern Renaissance, one of which I'm going to Franken into the blush, and one of which I'm going to use as a bronzer. So hey ho. I think as soon as the bronzer Realgar shade is done in my Modern Renaissance, I will just Franken that blush into the other blush and just be done with Modern Renaissance, and then just primarily focus on this. So my plans for this. Boa is going to be a great lid setting shade. I have found I love setting my eye primer every single day with just a normal lid setting shade that is similar to my skin tone, and Boa is going to be amazing for that. I think Bedrock is going to be an amazing brow shade. That is how I used it in my Project Level Up and also my No Pan Left Behind. But also I do love a deep outer corner as well, so it's going to be great as an outer corner shade too. This shade Slated is just one of the most beautiful, shimmery, gorgeous eyeshadow toppers ever. Like, it is competing with Ritz. That is how amazing and beautiful I think this is. The shade Pebble Beach is very loosely pressed. Whenever I use it, it goes everywhere, and you can see there's a massive dip in this already. So honestly, I think that's probably going to be the first shade to go, and I just like this palette. I think we're going to have a little bit of a hard time with Constrictor, just because I don't like super dark shimmers, but you know what? I could use it as a liner maybe. I could use it to blend out my outer V, things like that. And I feel like I'm ready to roll in a new Pan That palette and to get really good use on this. A lot of people, when I first introduced this to my collection, were like, we would not have thought that you would buy that palette. But honestly, I've really been enjoying it. And the more that it's been neglected in my collection, the more I've thought, like, I want to use it. I want to get love on it. And even if it is just till the end of the year and I roll in a new main 2025 Pan That palette, it's going to have a few months of really good use on this. And so that's what I'm going to do. Right now, I am planning to continue this throughout all of 2025, but you never know. Maybe in a few months, I kind of decide against that. I don't know. But for right now, I am planning on having this as 2025 Pan That palette and hopefully finishing it. That is my overall goal, to completely finish this palette. Maybe I end up decluttering Constrictor and Cold Blooded, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I am not going to roll in a companion palette for this month. I am done with companion palettes. I feel like they were literally there just to take the edge off Modern Renaissance. I'm listening to you now, guys. I hear you. I'm gonna stop torturing myself. I'm gonna stop making myself just like miserable with Pan That palette. I'm going to roll in something that I really, really love. I'm going to use Realgar as a bronzer, and honestly, I'm probably just going to leave the red ochre shade to be Franken into the blush at the end of the year. It just is what it is. I feel really glad now. I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. What do you think of this new Pan That palette? Do you think I'm going to have loads of really good progress? Do you think it's going to be a little bit of a flop? I don't know. Like I said, I am on holiday for the first week of this month, so there's probably not going to be amazing progress by the end of the month, but I will try. I will try. I think it's a great work palette as well. So yeah, let me know what you think down below. Are you happy that I am finally letting go of Modern Renaissance a little bit? Not completely, but a little bit. I feel great about that decision, and I hope you guys do as well. So this is where I'm gonna love you and leave you for today, guys. I feel amazing now that I've made this decision. Before turning the camera on, I was still a little bit apprehensive, but I just feel like it is the best decision that I can make. I feel happy, I feel confident, and I am reunited with That's Taupe. So yeah, I feel like I can breathe now, which is great. But this is it. This is where I'm gonna love you and leave you today, guys. I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, give me a like, give me a subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow for a very exciting video, okay? You do not want to miss tomorrow's video. It is a collaboration video, so definitely stay tuned, and I will see you then. Bye-bye.